Hello, what's going on? My name is Rich Ryan, bringing you another TORC Talk. This week, we're talking to Mark Gaudet, who is fresh off of both the Charlotte Sprints in the 2021 season. So Mark talks about how he had his two third-place finishes and how they both could have been first-place finishes in both the Saturday and Sunday races. So we talk about the course itself, the layout, some of the pros and cons, some of the things that Mark did really well, some of the things that he could definitely improve upon, and some of the things that he learned during these two races. There's a lot of things that can go wrong during the Spartan race, and we are just learning as we continue to gain experience. So it's a big theme in this podcast. So Mark was really open, really honest about the things that went well, things that didn't go so well. So I think you're going to learn a lot. I definitely learned a lot talking to him about these races in particular. So let's just do it. So you're feeling good at this point?
Yeah, and I think the confidence was growing because I felt like, this is an area, there's some more running and carry, the carry's coming, which is generally a strength of mine. And so every second I can take here is going to be huge. So at that point, I felt great.
And this was something that we had talked about, right? It's like if there was going to be a place to separate on this course that wasn't in that first mile and a half where it was just kind of running and some obstacles, we thought maybe things were kind of bunched back together through the obstacles, but it seems like you did a great job of actually making creating some space for yourself. And it doesn't even sound like it was intentional. Like you just kind of got through everything and moved through the obstacles fast, which is awesome, which is definitely a win. And then leading into bucket, it seemed like, okay, this is probably where the race is going to play out one way or the other. There's someone had spent it too early and they're going to kind of blow up here, or someone is going to be ready to really hammer this carry. But there was a third option that happened during the bucket carry. So what happened during the bucket carry?
So coming down to the bucket carry, I was the first one down there. And due to COVID safety precautions, they had the volunteers kind of off to the right, off the course. So usually they're standing in the middle of the red and the black buckets, but they were off the course. And I would just had my normal brain turned off as I'm just grinding. And I came up on the bucket. I just threw up my shoulder, and one of the course markings caught my eye, and it was pointing in one direction. And I went that direction. And that was the arrow coming out of the bucket carry. So I basically continued almost the opposite direction, or continuing down the course that you would go after finishing the bucket carry. And I heard some screams, but I thought people were cheering for me or something. And so I didn't really pay attention to them. And then it wasn't until I heard Woodsy yell my name that I recognized the voice. And that's when I looked back. And by that point, he already had the bucket on his shoulder, heading down the proper direction, and Go Whiskey already had it on his shoulder as well. And they're already moving in that direction. So I had to flip it around, move back 25 meters to the start point again, and then try to close the gap on those guys. Yeah, maybe 20 meters or so.
It would have been nice if it was people cheering for you, and then if Woodsy was cheering for you too, just how well you were doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he told me after, he's like, yeah, part of me wanted to see how far you would have gone.
And he had a funny post. His post was, I think he gave you a good nod during the post that he had. He's being typical as it's great when the person in front of you just runs the wrong direction off the course. That's a great strategy. This is something I told you that is almost the exact scenario that happened in a race I did in 2018, I think in Minnesota, but it was Bracken had the lead, went the wrong way with the bucket, and then Woods went the correct way with the bucket and won that race. And Bracken ended up in fourth. It was a pretty stacked field. So as soon as that happens and you stop and you turn around, what do you think right from this? How are you feeling?
I mean, there's obviously disappointment. You have that second of like, man, like I just worked my tail off to build this small margin, and I just gave it away. And now I'm like, I've got that lead I had is now how far back I am from these guys. And I just have to have this bucket on my shoulder for like maybe 20, 25 seconds longer than it should be.
It's a bad spot to get lost.
100%. Yeah. It's not like it was just running. It's with a bucket on your shoulder.
Right. So after that initial, cause I would feel the same way, right? I'd be like, I'm not sure. I would have gotten mad, I think, first. That's typically my usual response to something like that. I would instantly be like, how does this happen? Like looking around, like trying to figure out what the problem was. But then that kind of getting back to work. What, did you have any of that, or how long did you kind of sit in that mindset of like disappointment?
I mean, I was definitely angry, but mostly with myself because, right. I just kind of, I should have been, as I was approaching the buck carry, I should have been looking at where I needed to go. It was a difficult angle where you had to like pick it up and then almost turn around to head like back to your left to hit the start point of it. But I should have, either on the map or the course recon or something, I should have noted that ahead of time and known that I'm not going to pick this up and like head in a, continue going straight, basically. I should have known I'm gonna have to make a hard left with the bucket.
Right. Because I mean, typically in any type of carry, there are two arrows, right? Because like when you bring it back, it tells you where to go. And you're right. I like same thing. Like I would be mad first, try to be mad at somebody else, but usually when I get mad like that, it's because I'm mad at myself.
Right. And I mean, in Spartan's Defense, like on Sunday, they had like repositioned the volunteers. They had put up additional, course markings, and there was like no question about it on Sunday, because I guess some of the age group guys told me the same thing happened in the age group race as well. So it wasn't just me. But on Sunday, like Spartan had like definitely made the corrections, and like there was a guy like right as I'm picking it up, like screaming in my face, telling me like go this direction, which was appreciated.
And it's hard as someone who's probably laying out a race course to foresee all of the things that could potentially go through a racer's head in the time, and just like seeing how someone could misconstrue it. Like when you're setting it up, you probably see it and be like, this makes perfect sense. So just doesn't seem like it was any one particular person's fault.
Yeah. And I think when I went back to it the next day, I think the real confusing part is I think we get used to seeing how the buckets are actually set on the ground. And you know how they're usually almost like a wall, like you'll come up and you grab them and it blocks you from going any direction. But the way they had them set up, it was like, there was like this perfect alleyway of where you wanted to run. So like I came by and picked it and continued going on that same path. Like there was no wall of buckets blocking me from going that direction.
It's kind of like how like a grocery store guides you along. Like you just
right.
That's right with it.
Yeah. I think I just went with like the path of least resistance.
Which, at a point in the race where it is like you said, like your brain is not operating to its full capacity and like taking in everything and analyzing all the things. It's like singular focus. Cause when you're coming up to this point, it's pretty late. I mean, it's like 2.5 to probably just right before the 3 mile mark in a 3.5 mile race. Where is your head leading into this bucket? Have you even thought about the idea of winning yet? Or is everything still on the task at hand? Like what are you thinking about?
I mean, I thought the bucket at that point, I felt I should win. And I said, I was telling myself it's going to come down to this carry. Like if I separate here, like it's over. Like, no, they're not going to catch me on. There's one good running section. There's really 2 more good running sections. And then just not a lot of course left unless, I fail a spear or fall off the Z wall or something.
So the thought crossed your mind at that point, right? So there's a little bit of back and forth and there's a little bit of anticipation of like what is is potentially coming. Did you still feel once you turned around and kind of started to go, were you still in the competition mindset, or were you resigned to where you were then?
So I was still in the competition like mindset. I was angry, and that adrenaline will like kick back in like immediately. And all of a sudden I wasn't so tired anymore. And I was running as fast as I could with that bucket to try to close the gap. And I was able to make up quite a bit of the time lost on the carry, and catch up to Woodsy. But like by the end of the carry, like I was definitely like laboring. Like I gave a lot to close that gap because those guys were still moving. They still had strong carries, especially Brian. Brian had a great carry on Saturday because he separated from Woodsy on that. Like he took the lead of the race on the carry.
Wow. Yeah. So, I mean, he definitely hammered it. So you come out of it and you're right with Woods then in third, but just like tired.
Yeah. So I'm just like right behind him. And I just was like, I'll just stick on his back as we work our way down. There's a good little running section back through the woods to bring us out to the spear throw. And I kind of just put my head down and just like got on his heels. And I was like, I know how good he is. He'll reel Gaudet back in if I can just hang with him. And that's what I did. And when I looked up, we were definitely bringing him back coming into the spear throw.
Nice. So you're still in it. And then at a spear throw, I mean, anything could happen. So when you line up with the spear, what does happen?
So it was a really strange spear throw. So we came into it. I'd say Gaudet probably had 5 seconds on Woodsy and I at that point. And I was third in the line coming in, and Gaudet is like running down the line looking for the spear that he wants. And Woods goes the very first one, which was the best choice. It's where I went on the second day because it was the only one that was tethered to the right-hand side. Every single other one was tethered to the left. So Brian was running down the line looking for one tethered on the right, and I caught all the way up to him and was doing the exact same thing right behind him. And I'm like, I'm sure he's looking for the same thing that I am. And eventually I was just looking for a good target, one that wasn't beat up, because I was like, I don't think I'm going to find one. So I stopped and started to reel in. And then Brian went all the way to like just about the very end on the far right side. And it was it wasn't a very short, like, spear throw area. It was like a very long one.
They can be long. You can run quite a bit.
So I think Woodsy actually threw first and hit first, but he was the farthest away from like the exit. So he's like running down the line. Brian throws and sticks and actually leaves like the area before, because Woodsy's still running down. And so I'm backed up and I'm like, Woodsy's coming behind me. And I just like, I kind of paused for a second to like let him go behind me so he didn't like clip my spear or something. And so like right as he goes by, I throw, and then I take off after him. And that's kind of how that went out. But in the end of it, Brian, I think, had a bigger lead coming out of the spear than he had going into it on both of us. And I lost a matter of probably 5 seconds on Woodsy on the spear. So
Brian still had maintained his lead, and it was even bigger.
I think he grew it a little bit on that.
Just by speed of his throw. Because that's one thing too, right? Like, where I'm sure the distance, like the pace and speed that Woods was running after he hit his spear was faster than what Brian was running when he ran that whole distance to the very end, right? Because after you hit your spear, you're fired up, you're ready to go. And especially at the end of a race like this. But Brian must have just really whipped it in real fast and just tossed it. Probably had no hesitation throwing the thing. And you said he is fast on a spear, right? You've kind of seen that before.
Yep. He gets in and out.
So they're still there. So no position change on the spear, and then it's Z-wall. which on Saturday you said was okay, right?
Right. So this is where Woodsy, though, before the Z walls is where Woodsy closed the gap on Gawiski. So there's this one maybe 200-meter running section between the spear and the Z walls, and it was kind of uneven footing, and that's the one where I was just gassed still, and Woodsy separated from me, and he reeled Brian all the way back in and took the lead on him going into the Z walls.
And then he had just that right then it's basically over. So he was able to just kind of hang on at that point.
Yeah. So to give you an idea of how close it still is, though, is that I was getting on, like all three of us were on the Z walls at the same time. We were just on different ends of it all. And all three of us were, like we talked about at the end, we were super cautious, all of us on it. Woodsy came out a few seconds ahead of Brian. And then at that point, there's like not a whole lot going. So he was just like hammering. And it was slip wall, and then the vertical cargo, and then monkey bars, A-frame, fire jump. And like, it's like bang, 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 very quick.
Right.
And then like you kind of, at that point, once the guys, like everything was pretty good until we got over like the slip wall. And then at that point there was like, everyone's going hard. But once you make it through the monkey bars, there was like nothing that could be done. And everyone kind of just had been resigned to their positions at that point. Once Woodsy kind of made his break. And
once you're at A-frame, like, what are you going to do? So you finished third.
Finished third.
How'd you feel initially? Like, what was your initial thought?
I mean, I was bummed, but like those two guys are really strong. And so I knew I was going to run it back on Sunday. So I was like, I'll correct those errors and I'll come back tomorrow and at least get to race Brian again. And I got to look at take a look at the positive things that came out of today. Like first time I've ever been able to, separate it all from Ryan Woods ever.
Yeah.
And then like, starting to see the improvements in my obstacle proficiency, knocking off some of the rust. And, so, I was bummed because I would like to have seen, like, if I wouldn't have made that mistake, would I have grown the lead and put that away at the bucket? And I just wanted to know like what could have been. That's what I was most disappointed with.
Awesome. Well, I hope you enjoyed that brief portion of the interview that we had with Mark Gaudet. To learn how Mark did on Sunday, make sure you hit the link in the show notes to go to the full audio version of this interview so you can hear some of the other things of the main takeaways that he took from these 2 days of racing. And if you're enjoying the content that we're bringing you here at the Obstacle Racing Collab, aka TORC, make sure to hit that subscribe button, that little bell down there as well, so you get alerts for whenever we drop new things like athlete interviews, race recaps, map previews, all the things that are going to help you as an athlete take your results to the next level, the same way that the pro athletes here